Thank you so much for coming. I know that we're not at the York Castle office, so it's not as easy for you to just do a couple errands at the office and then conveniently come to class. You had to actually go out of your way to come here, and it's a new space. Raise your hand, by the way, if this is your first time to the DMAR office. Me too. It's pretty nice, though. I do like it. So hope you found it okay. Before we get in, I just wanted to give you one kind of tip as to how to take the most from this class as possible, which is we're going to go through 6 different systems. And while I really love when people take notes, it makes me feel good, I said something important, you wrote it down, it doesn't actually translate to action. So what I'd encourage you to do is at the end of each system that we go through, put a calendar block into your calendar to work on that system if that's something that you need to do. So I'm going to try to remind you throughout the class a couple times to break you out of note-taking mode and into doing mode. And you're going to hear me gripe about your calendar quite a bit, so just brace yourself. All right, so welcome to How to Run Your Business Like a Business. This is my favorite class because we have a lot of real estate agents. Some of them are pretty good, some of them are pretty bad. But a lot of us are not super great business owners, which is ultimately what we have to be really good at doing because we're all self-employed. So I love getting to teach some of the basics. So a couple quick rules. I definitely think there is such a thing as a stupid question, but please ask it anyways. I will judge you silently only. Raise your hand if you have questions. I'll call on you. Use the information. And then the really big one is please just no more excuses. I see people all the time. What was that? I'm out. You're out. Jeff's out. I see the people all the time that say, I want to get better at my business. And I can't tell you how many people I've sat down with for coffee or for lunch, and they ask me questions, and I tell them exactly what it is that they need to go do in their business, and they don't fucking do it. It's exhausting. Cut the shit. If you want to get better at your business, I'm going to show you a couple of ways that you can do that today, but then get off your ass and go do something about it. Don't just let this be another 2 hours that you sit here and you listen and you don't actually go implement anything, please. Or do, I don't know, whatever. So we're just going to do a little bit of a quick intro. Then I'm going to run you through 3 systems. We'll take a little 10-minute break. So if you need to go to the bathroom, get water, whatever, you'll have time. Then we'll go through another 3 systems, and then that'll be the end, at least of the class. I like to say that that's the beginning of the work. So just to get to know you guys a little bit better, is anybody here not at York Castle? I don't know how you got in. This is supposed to only be a York Castle class. We promised DMAR, nobody other than York Castle. Well, welcome, Allie. Really happy to have you and your mom again. Could you raise your hand if you're on a team? Okay. Could you raise your hand if you're solo? I assume it's just like the opposite, right? Okay. And then could you raise your hand if you've sold less than 10 houses in your career? Okay. Could you raise your hand if you've sold between 10 and 30 houses in your career? Okay, and then raise your hand if you're more than 30 per year. No, just kidding. Okay. Okay. All right, it just helps me to kind of understand where you guys are at. I'll try to gauge the class to you a little bit. So a little bit about myself in case you don't know who I am and somehow managed to find your way into this room. I'm Chelsea Steen. I'm 32 years old. I started a business back when I was 19, ran that for 8 years and sold it. It was a painting company. Why is that relevant? Because this isn't the only successful business I've run, and what's exciting about that is there's so much commonality. And that's what I'm going to teach you today, is that the systems I'm going to teach you are the same systems that you need for any service-based business that you would run. So if you have any interest in running a business past real estate at some point, you'll have the tools to do so if you take good notes today. I've only been a realtor for 5 years, believe it or not. Feels like a freaking lifetime. I've been a business coach for the last 12, and I've been an entrepreneur since I was 9. It's when I started my first little baking business. Who cares about the rest? I guess people find it interesting. Last year, my wife and I went and traveled for 10 months. I ran a business. We still brought in over 400K in GCI while we were frolicking around the world. And I love to travel. So those are the big things that I'll leave you with. Welcome. So to get us started, has anyone here read Atomic Habits before by James Clear? Yeah, it's a really good book. Highly recommend if you haven't. But in the book, James says something that I think is so critical, which is you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And when I hear that, to me, what that means is if last year you did 100K in GCI and you decided that this year I'm going to do 200K in GCI, but you're not doing anything differently on the back end, you're going to crash and burn because you're literally going to be handling double the number of clients that you're used to. And you're probably not going to do a really good job with that if you don't have the systems in place to actually handle that level of business. So you don't rise to the level of your goals just because you throw it out there. That's great, throw it out there, go for it, but you also have to build up the business behind it to get there. Okay, so these are the systems that we're going to go through today. For the people that have sold more than 30 houses in their career, let this serve as an aggressive reminder with some of these. Because I know plenty of top producers that I ask, could you run me through your business plan? And they're like, well, I didn't make one this year. All right. So for anybody that's sold more than 30, you're not immune. We all need these reminders. I still need these reminders, okay? But here's what we're going to go through. We're going to talk about a business plan. We're going to talk about your calendar. We're going to talk about activity tracking. That's my favorite. We're also going to talk about database management, accountability, and then how to put it all together with some routine. Okay? Is it just like wickedly hot? Yeah, I know, fuck. We put in like 4 requests like an hour ago to get it colder in here, so I apologize. If you find yourself falling asleep, I'll assume it's not me. Feel free to step out for a second because it's a lot cooler right out there. All right, so system number 1, a badass business plan. Let's be honest and vulnerable with one another. Who wrote a business plan for this year at the beginning of the year? Raise them high. You should be proud. You did the work. Okay, so a lot of us who have sold plenty of real estate, it's not just the newbies, did not take the time to set a business plan for ourselves this year. So I'm going to assume that everybody needs this information in that case. So there are 4 parts to a really badass business plan, and I'll take you through each. But we're going to always start with money and the financial. There's some marketing things that you have to do to actually go generate that income. There's some operations support that you'll end up needing. And then there's the really important one, which is the purpose. Which if you don't have the purpose, you don't really have a plan. So let's talk about the money part first. In order to make a badass business plan, and I'm going to go really elementary here for the next couple of slides. So if you sell a lot, too bad, buckle up. We'll be fine in a few slides. But if you haven't done one before, the numbers that you need are, number 1, you need your personal budget. Well, what is included in your personal budget? What you would do is just list out, hey, I need my rent or mortgage payment, my car payment, my car insurance, my health insurance, my groceries, my child care, whatever it is, you'll list out all of your personal expenses and add up that's what your personal budget is annually. Now, if I just said this, and this is not something you've done yet, do me a favor, pull out your calendar and put in a time block right now to get your personal and business budget together. Could be next week, could be a month from now. But if you don't have those numbers really clear and dialed in, go ahead and put it in your calendar right now that you'll go do that. Because you can't do the plan without the numbers. God, it's so rewarding seeing people look at their calendar. It's so good. It's the best. All right. The second thing is your business budget. You'll do the same thing, but with your business expenses, right? So, okay, this is what I pay to DMAR, right, every year. This is what I pay for my license renewal. If you do open houses and you do 2 open houses a month and they cost you $100 each, it's $200 a month. Your budget for open houses is $2,400 a year. Any of the softwares that you use, this is a really software-heavy business. I learned once I got into it, like 85 freaking subscriptions, add all those up and put them on there. Anybody have questions on either of those 2 things? Sweet. Then in a perfect world, you would also have some data. And if you're brand new, you might not have this data yet. So you're going to need to do a little bit more research. If you're not brand new, I would bet that you're still going to have to do a little research, but you're researching your own business. And what you'd want to have is what are your conversion rates? And then also what are your lead generation activities? So when I say conversion rates, who can tell me what that means?
Converting somebody working with them.
Yeah, taking a lead from an actual client, conversion rates. This is something that you would want to know for yourself, and it probably varies by lead type. Does anyone here do Zillow? Do you know like what the conversion rate for yourself is on that one? 3%. Usually if you cold call, it's going to be somewhere between 0 and 15%. So you'd want to know, what are your conversion rates? Like for me, I know 89% of my business is referral, and of the people that I sit down with, I'll close 80% of them. So 4 of every 5 appointments I go on, I'm going to land. Now when I have somebody hit me up off the internet, I'm more like 30%. I don't do as well, I panic. So you want to know what your conversion rates are for each activity. Questions on that? No, okay. When I say lead generation, what you would also want to know is how much of something it takes for you to get a client. So does anybody here do open houses? Okay. Does anybody that does open houses know how many open houses do you need to do to get one client closed?
3%. It's about
3%, okay. Well, that's a lot of freaking open houses. So I had an agent I coached, her recipe was for every 8 open houses, she would have 1 closing. Like guaranteed, we tracked it. Every 8 open houses equaled 1 closed client. So if that's not something that you're tracking right now, or you don't know those numbers with yourself, if you've been doing this or you did this last year, just ballpark it and guess. Look at the closings that you had, which ones were from open houses. If it's 0, I would then add up, how many open houses do I think I did last year? How many hours did I spend, not just at the open houses, but also on the setup, the tear down, the follow-up, blah, blah, blah. And if the answer is you spent 100 hours on open houses and got 0 closed clients, maybe do something else. Or get better at it. One of the two, but that's a lot of time to spend on something that's not yielding any results. This videographer that I coached for a little while told me that he spent, it was like 140 hours last year on cold call leads, and he didn't close any clients. And I was like, Leo, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you're not good at this. So we just need to try a different approach, and that's okay. But I'd hate to see you keep doing something that you're not having success at and you're not improving your skill at, because what a waste of time.
I was just going to say, how many are following up?
Yeah.
You know, not just, okay, let's go show homes or whatever call, but are you really following up on the ones that you want to
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of ways that you can improve your skill level. So if you're committed to doing an activity, then you just need to focus on the skill. Or maybe you've got a lot of skill and you haven't even realized, like, shit, 5 of my clients last year were from referral. What did I do to even spend time with those people that referred me? Oh, it was like 4 dinners. That's a really high conversion rate. Go to more dinners, right? So it could be the opposite. But if you don't pay attention, you're not going to know where your business is coming from. Questions on that? No. Okay. So now what? Now we want to figure out how many houses you need to sell. And if you're running a different business, it doesn't matter. It's how many houses you need to paint, how many roofs you need to put on. It's the same thing, but we need to get down to how many of this do you need to do. So the first thing that you're going to do is figure out the GCI that you need, and this is why you needed your budgets. So you'll add up your personal budget and your business budget, and then you'll add in money for Uncle Sam. I know, it sucks, but you do unfortunately owe the government. So let's say my personal budget was $50K, my business budget was $25K, so that's $75K. I'm gonna add in $25,000 for taxes. Are you really gonna pay that much in taxes? Hopefully not if you're working with a good CPA, and I like to call that a vacation bonus when that happens, but it's better to have a bonus than to be under. That's not fun. Tax debt's not a good time. So in this example, $100K in GCI is what would be needed to pay all of the bills. Does this make sense? Everybody following so far? Okay. Step 2, you need to figure out what your average commission is. So you need to know 2 averages, which again is going to require you looking at your business or looking at somebody else's business who has data that they'll share with you. But what is your average sale price? If you're new in the business, I would go low. You tend to work around $400,000 to $500,000 as an average price point when you're first starting. Not always, but usually. And then what's your average commission percentage? So for me, right now I'm like 50-50 listings and buy side, right? On the listings, in theory, I take 3.2%. On the buy side, I take 2.8%. So one could say, hey, a good average for you, Chelsea, would be 3% to use as the average. But I like to plan pessimistically, always. And I know that my repeat clients, which is a lot of my business, I actually reduce my commission on the sell side happily. So I like to use 2.8% is my average commission. And then it factors in if you sell a new build and they give you $1 or whatever. Okay, so you would take your average sale price, you would multiply it by your average percentage to get whatever your average commission is. So in this example, $500,000 average sale, 2.8% commission. Average commission is $14,000. Then you're gonna divide the GCI by that average commission. Lo and behold, I need to sell 7 houses. I know I went into the detail, sorry to the higher producers in the room. To the people that are newer, does this make sense? Take a picture of it. If it doesn't, could use it later. Go quick before I... Okay. All right, so now that we've got 7 houses is the total, what we need to figure out is where are those going to come from? And I like to look at things in buckets. So when I think about any business that I've done, I think back on the painting business, I always had 3 pillars of generating business, or 3 buckets. So for the painting company, my number 1 was sadly door knocking. That's what I did. It was a lot of door knocking. The second one was home shows, and then the third was online. In real estate, your buckets might be open houses, it might be referral, it might be Zillow, it might be team leads, it might be for sale by owner, whatever it is. You should always have 3 buckets, and no, they're not gonna be equal. Like for me right now, I'm 89% referral based, 2% comes from classes, 9% comes from online SEO work that I do. So I'm really heavy in the referral category. But I still have 3 pillars. That's where it all comes from. So here are some examples that yours might be. And what you want to do, again, is break it up. So for me, if I were looking at this and said, I need to sell 7 houses, and I know that I'm real referral heavy, I'll say, all right, 5 are going to come from referrals this year. 1 will come from online. 1 will come from a class. Does this all make sense for everyone? Okay. So once you have your pillars and how many houses you're gonna sell or generate clients from those pillars, what we wanna do is take it all the way down to the detail. And this is where most business planning workshops stop. A lot of the stuff that we're gonna do today, I'm gonna try to give you the last 10 to 20% that I wish classes did to actually get you out of the, yeah, I know how to do that, into the, oh shit, I needed to take this further part of how to actually implement it. So let's roll with an example of open houses. What I want to get to is all the way down to what do I need to do every single week? Because has anybody here ever woken up in real estate and not been sure what you should do that day? Let's say it more loudly if it's a yes. Yeah. Okay, so a lot of us. I get that all the time when I meet with people and I'm like, what do you even mean you don't know what to do today? I wish I woke up and felt that way. So we want to get down to the what is it that I need to do every single week. So let's take the open house example. If you need 10 clients, and let's say that it takes 4 open houses for you to get 1 client, that means you need to do 40 open houses in a year. That works out to about 3 per month. And just to keep yourself consistent, you might say, fuck it, I'll do 1 a week. If I do 1 open house a week, I'll get 10 open house clients by the end of the year. Does this make sense? So you want to do that with each pillar that I just described. So for me, in my 5 clients that I'll try to get from my referral business, what that looks like for me is I do what's called a 36 touch, which I taught in my last class, Make It Rain Referrals. I bump it up though, I do a 52 touch, which means I need to touch my database of A+ people once a week. That's my weekly activity. That's how I generate that business. It's that simple.
Are these active people then? I mean, are these active buyers and sellers, or when you're doing that? Because that's a lot. Do they feel overwhelmed when you're touching that much?
They seem okay.
Okay.
You know, just like in real life, if somebody's backing off from me trying to reach at them, we stop touching them that way.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So some people have said like, hey, I really don't need the gifts. That's great. We stopped sending the pop by gifts. Like you're saving me money at that point. That's fine. You know, I care about you. That's great. But no, everybody seems pretty happy. And we're not doing it all in the same way. So you can come to my Make It Rain referrals class if you want more detail on that. But it's not like I'm sending an email to everybody every week, right? Like we'll send 2 emails a month. One of them is HomeBot. One of them is my newsletter. We'll do a client event every quarter, so they're getting an invite 1 month, a reminder 1 month, there's the event 1 month. So the way in which people are getting touched seems to work. Questions on this or any activity that somebody's like, I don't know how to break this down to a weekly basis, like some lead generation?
I would say Instagram lead conversion.
Social media.
How many posts pull that lead? I don't know.
Yeah. So the question was social media, like how could you basically break this down? So what you would need to figure out first is what is your conversion rate from social media? So, okay, last year, if you know, hey, I closed 3 deals off social media, go add up how many posts you did, divide by 3. That's how many it took. That would be one way. The second is if you're just starting out with social media and curious about how it's gonna go, check in with somebody who really thrives in social media to convert clients. That's not me. Our social media looks fine, but we're not generating business. We're just using that as a way to stay in front of my database. So I don't really care if it's, you know, catchy and 50,000 views or whatever. Did that help, Caroline? Yeah. So you gotta track in order to figure out how many do you need to do. Because let's say it was, hey, 20 posts equals 1 client. Well, how many clients do you want to get from social? Oh, I want to get 10. Okay, you got to do 200 posts. Yeah. The thing with social media that's a little tricky, but also with all of these activities, is how you do it also matters, right? But right now we're trying to get down to the activity part of it. And then we'll talk about the skill part of it in a second. Okay, so right now, if you're sitting in this room and you do not know the 3 to 5 things that you need to do every single week, clearly defined to go get business, you need to spend some time on this. So if you haven't already, maybe put a calendar block in to work on it. All right, everyone did it already. Okay, good. So then there's the operations part. So sometimes what happens is we decide, hey, I want to start doing this thing. And you've got to do some projects in order to be able to start doing that thing. So can someone give me an example of something they want to start in their business or they started this year, a new lead gen tactic for them?
We're making videos in our podcast room and starting a YouTube channel to have it connect to my website to be able to send out.
Cool.
With different topics that are not timely, but are general. Like
Cool.
roofing or marketing or whatever.
Sweet. And you send those out by email?
We will be. We're
Okay.
doing all the
Cool. Okay, so Meg said, yo, I want to send out videos that are informative to my database, right? Perfect. So step 1, you had to get a YouTube channel. Step 2, project number 2, you had to figure out where you're going to start recording this stuff. Step 3, pick the topics, write the script. Step 4, actually go do it. Step 5, make sure you have a software that you can actually send those videos out. And hopefully I didn't have to say this step that should have been done at the beginning, which is make sure your database is all in order so that all you have to do is drag and drop and hit send. Thanks, Meg, that was helpful. So when you start to talk about one of these things that you want to do, you're going to end up having projects that you need to get done. Awesome. Just list those out, put them in your calendar. That's it. Here are the 5 things I need to do in order to actually go do this activity. Put the calendar blocks in your calendar. I know it sounds simple, but I just hope my voice gets ingrained today. It's the only thing that you remember, and it's my voice clearly that says, put it in your fucking calendar. That's it. That's what I hope stays. Okay. So as an example on the open houses, if you were starting at the beginning of the year, I want to get open house clients. Perfect. One of the projects might be, I need to talk to 10 listing heavy agents because it's hard to consistently have open houses, right? You have to go track them down all the time. So I'm going to go talk to 10 listing heavy agents that have listings all the time so that I've got a source of listings always for me to go do open houses on, right? And I want to do that by the middle of January. That's project 1. Project 2, you need to have a badass sign-in system because how are you actually going to convert these people? Or are you just going to go do open houses and shoot the shit? And that's it. Hopefully you're trying to actually get clients. So how are you going to convert people when they walk in the door? What are your offerings? What's your value proposition? And so then another system that you might want to think about implementing for open houses would be your follow-up system. So if you're not currently using a CRM, good luck converting people out of open houses, because how are you going to keep track of all those sign-in sheets and those names and stay in touch with those people? The answer is you're not. Let's be honest, you're not. Some people will sit there and call through every week. If you're old school, great. I'm going to guess that that's like nobody in this room, though. Questions on the operations side, the getting down to the projects side? No, okay. So back when I was in the painting business, I got to learn this super fun thing, which is how to set goals. And you set them smartly, right? You set SMART goals. And this is an acronym. And so anytime you set a goal, I would really encourage you to run it through this system, because if it doesn't check these boxes, it's not a real goal, it's a hope. So the first one is S stands for specific. It's clearly defined. The next is measurable, numerical. That's one that I see people mess up. I want to sell more houses this year. Sweet. How many more? Attainable, realistic. If you're not sure if your goal is attainable or not, you should phone a friend, a mentor friend, and they will tell you if you ask them. Relevant. When I say relevant, I mean this directly ties to your business plan, and it makes sense. I'm going to do this activity because I took these pillars of business, and this is how much of this activity I need to go do. Otherwise, it's a distraction. I'd really like to just have a YouTube channel, but you don't have a plan like Meg does as to how you're actually going to go get business from that. That's a waste of time. And then time sensitive. That's super fun. Put a deadline on yourself. Treat it like school. So an example would be, I want to do one open house. The one is the measurable. Open house is the specific. Per week is the timely, which will result in 10 clients and 30K in GCI or whatever it is, which is the relevant part. Does that make sense or any questions? Okay. I got the nods this way and nods this way. So. All right, and then finally is the purpose. So what's the emotional buy-in? If you don't have a strong emotional connection to your goal, honestly, just forget it. And I coach real estate agents, and sometimes they'll say to me, I want to do 200K in GCI this year. Okay, why? Well, because I did 100K last year. Okay, what does that 200K get you? What are you going to use that money for? How are you going to apply it? How does it improve your quality of life? But if you don't have an emotional connection to it, you're not going to get your ass out of bed and go do stuff that you don't want to do in order to hit that. Does anybody here disagree? No. Okay, that's good. If you're not sure what your why is, you need help defining that. I have this fun little class called Unfuck Yourself. With the brokerage, it's called Unstuck Yourself. It's in July. If you would like to come, it'll be in this room again, but we dive way more into the why. I love this quote, which is, when the why is strong enough, the how takes care of itself. When I was in college, I had this really strong urge to have freedom. That was my why. I wanted freedom. And I was willing to lay it all out on the line in order to have that. So in school, I started a business as a sophomore, was running a company. By the time I was a senior in college, I had 16 full-time employees. I graduated with 2 degrees at the top of my class, because it was also really important to me to do very well in school, because I'm competitive, not for any other reason. And I also somehow managed to play collegiate basketball. And in doing all of those things, at the end of graduating, I walked away, and as a senior in college, I'd made like $120,000 that year. I could go do anything I wanted. I knew I was never gonna go get a job. It was a waste of 4 years. And so I said, fuck it, I'm gonna go travel for a year, which is what that photo is. My first stop was I went scuba diving in Antarctica. And I wanted freedom. And so for a year, I went and I had it. I had no responsibility other than keeping myself alive, and also didn't do a great job with that sometimes. So my why was so strong that all of the shit I had to go through, I think back on like, how did I do that, you know? Like, how did that happen? It was a lot of coffee and late nights at the library, that's for sure. But I wanted the freedom so bad that the how did not matter. I was willing to do whatever it took for me to make enough money to put myself in a good spot so I could have freedom then, and so I can have freedom now. So check in with your purpose. All right, some bonuses on the business plan. We have some business plan workshops at York Castle, so if you don't have a business plan, you're newer to the business, that would be a really good place to go, and then to reference these notes as well. I have a really good goal packet I can share with you if you email me. I just ask for feedback on the class in exchange for said goal packet. But it's the goal packet I've used the last 5 years. I sit down in November every year and fill this bad boy out. So if that's something that you would like, I'm happy to send that to you. Don't let me forget to send you instructions with it or it will not make sense. And then a couple of books. So The 7 Levels of Communication, has anybody read that one before? Do you remember roughly what it was about? Okay, I won't put you on the spot. The 7 Levels of Communication is a great book for you to read because it talks about how we communicate with clients, and it's also real estate specific, and it's told in a story format, which is so nice. But it talks about all of the different ways that you can communicate with clients and what conversion rates will be and how to do it better. So I'd really recommend that you pick up that book if you're struggling with what should my activities be. That would be a good place to start. And it's genuinely a good read. Genuinely. And then The Compound Effect. God, I will never stop talking about this book. This book changed my life, 100%. I'll give you a personal example. But basically, this book talks about how slow, steady, consistent action over time will always yield better results than short bursts of energy. So the personal example is I'm not very good at being positive with my wife. I have a tendency to always look for the negative in everything because that's what I can go fix and do better, which will get me ahead. Other people don't work like that. She likes to hear nice things about herself, and I struggle to say I think it, but I just don't say it. So in reading this book, I got the idea, okay, I'm going to write a compliment about my wife in this little book every day. Just every day I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna write something nice about her. And at the end of 1 year, I had a very filled out book and I handed it to her and I said, if you ever need a compliment, just open the fucking book because it's all there, I've done it. But what really happened is it forced me to get into the habit of looking for the good in her and actually expressing it and writing it down, which then made it a lot easier for me to start saying it. Slow, consistent action over time will yield better results than just her, yelling at me and being like, no, you're pretty, like I promise. Like that's not helpful, right? Like slow, consistent action over time.
Then the other will say it creates a habit. It creates a habit.
Yeah, exactly. It creates a habit because you're changing your brain, because you're doing it over time rather than just like a little burst. Questions on that? Is everyone okay? This is like probably the lowest energy room I've taught to yet. I'm feeling self-conscious. It's just hot, right? Okay. All right, let's go into my favorite one. Your calendar. You knew it. The calendar. I don't know if this is going to work, so I'll just talk to you about it. How do you build a calendar? Where do you start? So this video right here is a super fun example where this guy had a couple contestants come up onto stage and he gave them an empty container. And then he gave them a container full of like boulder type rocks, and then a container full of pebbles, a container full of water, a container full of sand. And he said, make it fit into that empty one. So the first guy was like, I got this, right? Male, audacity. Takes the water, pours it in, then puts the boulders in, then the sand, whatever, it's overflowing in like 2 seconds. The second person decided to have a little bit more pause and think about it. So he put the big rocks in, shook them around so that they went down as low as they would. Then he poured in the little pebbles on top and they found their way through the big rocks. Then he put in the sand, which made its way in between all the little pebbles and the big rocks. And then he finally put in the water, which filled up the rest of the volume. And in doing so, it all fit magically just because of the order in which he put it in. This is exactly how you should build your calendar. Big rocks first. Now it's going to work. Dang it. All right. So what are your big rocks? This is going to be different for everybody, but in our real estate business, the big rocks are your lead generation. However you are generating leads, those are the big rocks. You put those in first. When's the best day or days of the week to do an open house? I didn't hear, sorry. Saturday and Sunday. So you want to put that in for Saturday or Sunday if you're doing open houses. Because when's the best day of the week to show a property? Trick question, there isn't one. There isn't one any day. So if I've got to show a house, I can fit in a showing around other things, but there's only the 1 or 2 best days of the week to do an open house, which is how I'm getting business. So the big rocks first, whatever your lead generation is. Other big rocks for me, my fitness. If I do not have the opportunity to go work out, I turn into a maniac. Then I'm snippy, that's not fun. I gotta go work out. So that's a huge one for me. For others, they have kids. Apparently that is also a big rock that you need to put in there. I'm told. So put in your big rocks. Self-care, I consider to also be a big rock. Like therapy, keeps me grounded, really important. Monthly massages, those types of things, self-care. And then this is the one that people miss. So I'm going to say this to you, and then hopefully I see people pull out their calendars and put it in. But you need time every single week to organize your business and to stay organized. So for me, on Sunday nights, there is a 1-hour time block on every single Sunday night. It's in yellow. Yellow to me means don't miss this. Yellow, 7 p.m., 1 hour. And I sit and I look at my calendar for the next week. And I move things around as needed. Oh my gosh, I scheduled myself too tight there. I need to change this one appointment. I didn't give myself enough drive time here. I don't have enough workouts in. My wife and I share a car, so I have to make sure I send her Google Calendar invites for the Subaru. Whatever it is, you're sitting there for 1 hour and spending time organizing your calendar. And you'll be amazed the things that pop up, because we all think that we're superheroes when we put stuff in, but the actually like how to get all that stuff done doesn't always click. So for me, I love to commit to friends, and then I forget, like, shit, that's a potluck. When am I gonna have time to like go to the grocery and get stuff, or to like make a dish? You can put those things into your calendar that support whatever activities you have going on. But at least 1 hour per week working on your calendar. So hopefully right now you would be putting a time block in your calendar in the next week to work on your calendar. I'm not gonna look up and make it awkward, but like hopefully. The other one is activity tracking. I'm gonna teach you in a minute what the heck an activity tracker is, but this is basically a check-in on your business weekly. I was supposed to do 1 open house this week. I was supposed to touch my database 1 time this week. I was supposed to knock on 50 doors. How did I do? What's my plan for next week? That's the hour of checking in on how did I do on my goals for this week, and what do I need to do next week? So there should be at least 2 hours in your calendar just for those. So those to me are the big rocks. The pebbles would be client servicing. As I mentioned, when's a good time to show a house? Whenever it makes sense to show a house. When's a good time to have a listing appointment? Doesn't freaking matter. Whenever you can get your ass over there is the best time to do a listing appointment. So client servicing. Hobbies, right now I'm learning the piano. That's not quite a big rock. I'll move it if I have to, but it's secondary, right? 2 hours every Friday. Leadership, if you run a team, etc., that would also be considered a pebble. The sand is the admin and the life tasks. Going to the grocery, you've got to go to the doctor if it's not an emergency. If it's an emergency, obviously that's a big rock. Admin type stuff. So admin would be putting leads into your calendar on a Monday that you generated at an open house on Saturday. And then the water, buffer times. You cannot physically go from one appointment to the next without the ability to drive there, unless it's at the same location. So you need in buffer times, drive times, and also just generally like green buffer times. So I know for me, at the end of our company meetings that we have at Your Castle, I love to sit and socialize a little bit. And then I usually go to the little luncheon, but I love to sit and socialize, so I put in a little buffer time for myself. So buffer times, really, really important so that you can actually hit the things on your calendar. Which calendar should you use? Google Calendar. End of conversation. Just start it. If you have something else that works for you, that's great. Google Calendar. That's the one. Okay, so now what? So you guys have taken your clearly identified weekly SMART goals, right? You have figured out these are the exact tasks that I need to do every single week. And you need to go ahead and put them into your calendar, but where there's an extra miss, so this is that last 10 to 20% on calendar that usually doesn't get talked about, is that there are other supporting and preparation tasks that also need to go in for these. So I'll run you through one example and then we can do one together. If you were going to do one open house per week, perfect, and Saturday was your day, put in your little 2-hour or 3-hour time block on Saturdays for your open house and make it recurring. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, just make it recurring and then you can just move stuff around. Well, you also have an hour of setup time, usually, an hour of teardown time. Hopefully there's also at least 30 minutes after that for you to go put those leads into your CRM and immediately text them if you have not done that already. At the beginning of the week, on like Tuesday, you probably want an hour in your calendar to go find an open house. On Wednesday, an hour to create the marketing materials for that open house, your social media posts, your brochures, your whatever. And then on Thursday, you're actually posting about the open house. On Friday, hopefully you're door knocking before and putting up those 50 flyers that you just spent time creating, and then you have the open house. So it's not just open house on Saturday for 3 hours. It's all of these other supporting activities that turn this into a system. Does this make sense? Okay. Okay, so the final result is that all you should need to do every single morning is wake up and do whatever your calendar tells you to do. That's it. It seems simple enough. It really can be that simple if you get your calendar set up accordingly. Just wake up and do whatever's on there. Okay, couple little tips and tricks. I personally like having all my individual tasks in my calendar because I'm psychotic. A lot of people don't like that. They like time blocking. So as an example, if you're going to create social media posts for your open house, that might be a good time to work on your other social media for the week as well. So you might have a marketing block in your calendar that's 2 hours. And in that time block, in the description, I'm talking Google Calendar language, by the way. In the description, you would put in bullet points of I need to get my open house social media done, I need to get my just sold done, whatever it is. You put your stuff in there, so marketing block pops up, and now you've got your little to-do list already on your calendar block. What I love about using descriptions is, I don't know about you guys, but like, I will remember that I need to do something at the most inconvenient time ever. And then I go to write it down somewhere, and then that gets lost, and it's the worst. So if I know, oh shit, I gotta do that social media post, I pull up my calendar, I click on my next social media block, I just add that little line into the description, and bam, it's there. I know I'm gonna do it at that calendar block. It takes like 2 seconds on your phone. Okay. If something comes up, skip writing it down, put it directly into your calendar. So my dad was hassling me about how bushy our bushes are out front. And I don't have the time right now. It's like a 3-hour project to do these. And he was like, hey, those bushes. I said, yep. I pull up, I put in my calendar, contact Jorge, get him out here to do the bushes. Bam, now I know it's gonna get done. But don't just write it down. Put it right into your calendar. This is like, if I could impart this next tip onto all of you, and you just did it automatically, in conjunction with everything else that we just talked about, this would make you one of the most efficient beings in our office for sure. So at the end of each day, look back on your calendar for that day. What did I not get done? Hopefully we're all hitting 100 every single time, but that's not quite how it goes in this business, right? A showing pops up or a listing appointment, and all of a sudden you didn't get to your 3-hour marketing block, but it still needs to get done. So at the end of each day, whatever you did not get to, move forward. And it creates this fun little domino effect, because wherever you go to put that, you probably have another calendar block. And now all of a sudden you're moving things around and prioritizing, but that's the time that you need to spend each day with your calendar. Color code. Does anybody like to color code their calendar? Colin, what are your main colors and what are they for?
I only have
Two colors. Okay, what are they?
dark green is anything business and red is personal.
Cool. Dark green is business, red is it's like Christmas.
I mean, I love Christmas.
Okay. Like, just a Christmas calendar. So for me, I've got my workout times in one color, right? I've got dark blue as property management. Purple is personal time. Orange is don't fucking miss this. Doesn't matter what it is. Blue is an appointment. So I'm in person with somebody or on a Zoom or whatever, but it's some sort of an appointment that I actually need to be at. So color code, it will help you a lot when you're just quick glancing at your day of like, what does today look like? I get pumped when I see all red blocks because I'm like, oof, work from home. It's good. It's good stuff. And then this is just a fun little tip and trick. The advanced level is that you reward and punish yourself for good and bad behavior, okay? Now, you don't have to go crazy, but perhaps it is, okay, if I hit all 100 of my calendar blocks today, I get all of this stuff done, I get a sweet little treat after dinner. If I don't, I have to go for a 20-minute walk. Something that's still positive for you, right? But something that you might not feel like doing at the end of the night. Or I gotta mow the yard today instead of on Saturday, whatever it is. Just a fun little tip and trick. If that doesn't work for you, that's fine. Bonus resources, your Google Calendar, as we talked about, just get Google. It makes life easy. You can send calendar invites. It works with your email. There's so many reasons that it makes so much sense. The 12-week year, I have up here if anybody at the end wants to flip through or at the break. This like totally changed the way that I set goals, but it basically, I was a basketball player. It breaks down the year into 4 quarters, right? Which we have already, we have these fiscal quarters. But to look at it like 4 quarters and okay, quarter 1 is 12 weeks. And what are my goals by the end of this quarter? And that's all I'm working to. I know what the rest of the year is gonna look like, but that is all I am focused on is just that quarter in these 12 weeks. This will help you a lot with building habits with your calendar because it kind of breaks it all down instead of getting overwhelmed by the whole year. Deep work is another really good one. And then the other one is hire some sort of coach or accountability. This is a skill that needs work. It is a skill, so it is something that you will get better at with time, but it does take practice. And it's hard to self-coach yourself through it. So if you have somebody that can work with you on your calendar, you're gonna get a lot better at this a lot faster. Is everyone still breathing? Okay. Don't forget there's cold water right there if you need it. Yeah.
Do you put individual tasks in your Google Calendar, or do you have another system that tracks that?
As in, like, give me an example of one.
Like a really boring, like to detail if you're calling a specific client or you're.
I'll put that in as a task. Yeah. So like call George.
So how many tasks do you have on your calendar per day?
So, well, let me distinguish because I think I know what you're kind of asking.
Like I have a resolution today, or I have an objection, whatever.
Yeah. So if it was that, I would just have, anytime I have an inspection, objection, or resolution, I block out an hour on the objection deadline or the day before of when I'm gonna write it and talk to my client. I do it all in the 1 hour. Or resolution, I block out a time block of this is when I'm gonna be negotiating that because it always takes longer than you want it to because you always have follow-up calls. If it's an individual person, like I remember, oh my God, I gotta call that person, I'll just put it in as an individual task. If we're talking like follow-up, that is a calendar block on my schedule. That's follow-up boss task time every single Monday. It's salmon colored for 1 hour.
So you have those individual tasks in Follow-Up Boss.
Yes, which I'll show you.
Follow-Up Boss and Google Calendar, no other task manager.
Yep. All right, system 3, activity and deal tracking. At each section, I keep saying this is my favorite, but like this might actually be my favorite. Activity tracking is my favorite because it takes all of our ideas and our good wishes and hopes and dreams and puts them on paper so you can see how you're actually doing. So at this point, you've made a really good plan, right? And this is in order for a reason. You got to start with your business plan and get all that sorted, then get your calendar up and rocking so you can actually execute on that plan. And then here is how you will hold yourself accountable and see how you're doing compared to that plan, which is activity tracking. So you made a plan, it's in your calendar, but how are we going to make sure that you actually do what you said you were going to do? And then also, how do we know if it's working? Because I will coach agents that say, I want to do 10 open houses this quarter, and I'm like, perfect. And then at the end of the quarter, I'm like, how many leads are you working from that? 0. Maybe we shouldn't be doing 10 open houses next quarter. So it's a way for you to check in also on what's working and what's not. And it depends on also the market, right? Like we all know that sometimes open houses are popping off. And sometimes they are definitely not. So it gives you time to adjust with the market as well as to what lead gen might make sense. All right, this actually has color on my screen. I'm really sorry that it doesn't up here. Well, it kind of does. Okay, so this is an activity tracker. I'll send it to you if you give me constructive feedback. I don't need praise of, hey, great job. That's not super helpful for me. The negative is helpful. I know the room's hot. Don't put that in there. I fucking get it, okay? So in any case, I'll send this to you. But on here, it's a weekly activity tracker. So at the top, you see that there is a column for each week. And then there are rows for each activity, whatever it is that you want to hold yourself accountable to. And there's 2 sets of numbers with each activity. The top one is whatever your goal is. So if your goal was, I want to do 1 open house per week, you would just carry that through all the way through the year. Okay? And then what you would do is at the end of the first week of the year, you go on and put in, did you do it or not? And we'll say you started the year strong, new year, new me. So you did it. And you went really strong for like 3 weeks in a row, and then you stopped. And then you're at 0, whatever. But you will put in whatever those activities were that we already broke down into onto here. Those are the activities that you put into your spreadsheet. And then all you need to do is every Sunday night, ideally, before you start the new week, you put in how you did. And there's usually a realization at the beginning. If you have a goal like 20 contacts, the first week you go in to do it and you're like, I don't know how many people I called. So you have to find a system to actually track that too, right? I don't know if it's a Post-it note and you're doing tally marks or whatever it is that works for you. Does that make sense? Then I've got a little tab here that will total it all for you. The goal for Q1 was 7 and I did 4. I always know when people have worked with a business coach because they use an activity tracker. Most people don't go in and subject themselves to this willingly, but it's really, really helpful for keeping you on track. Basic tool, but my God, what it will do for your results, because what it forces you to do is to look every single week in the mirror at what did I do, what did I not do, and then we'll always usually come down to 3 issues if you missed. One is you weren't committed to the task. And that could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe that just sounded like a good goal to you, but you weren't really committed to what it was going to require every week. The second might be if your goal was like consultations. Hey, I want to have 5 consultations each week. You might have an activity problem, which is the week before you didn't do the 2 open houses that were required to set up 5 consultations. Or the third problem that comes up is skill. I'm doing all of the activities, but I'm not converting. And you will know because you'll be hitting all of your weekly goals and not getting clients. That means we have a skill problem. So it will help you identify, what do I need to focus on? Is it my commitment, my activity level, or my skill? That sounds overwhelming. Just hire a coach. They would love to help you with this. So key components, you can make your own. I'm a really basic gal. I'm a keep it simple, stupid kind of person. I made that Excel spreadsheet a long time ago, still use it, share it with my coaching clients. It's nothing monumental. If you want to make your own, the key components would be your SMART goals are all the way broken down into weekly or monthly activities. You have goals versus actual results. So you can't just put on there, I'm going to do 2 open houses every week through the end of the year, because now that's a plan, not a tracker. So you need to put how you're actually doing against that. You should put in your goals through the whole year. This is really helpful because sometimes we have things come up in our life like a vacation. And we promised we were going to do 1 open house per week, but now we're going to Disney for 4 weeks in a row, and we're not going to do those 4 open houses. So what's going to happen? Am I just giving up on that, or am I going to push those and I'm going to double up a couple times throughout the year? And this is why. So when you put it throughout the year, you'll be able to make sure you're actually doing the activities throughout the year. And then hopefully your spreadsheet knows how to total things. Questions on the activity tracker? Is that a new concept for anybody here? Does anybody here use one? Now you do. Yeah, you do, Julie. That's right. You have one. Oh, you forgot you had one. No, okay. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, the next sort of tracking is deal tracking. So on the first page of that spreadsheet, I also had that on there. But basically, you need something that shows what is currently under contract, what have I already closed, and therefore, if I don't sell another house or get a single other person under contract right now, what is my year-to-date revenue? Some people like to do this as GCI instead, because you're working towards a GCI goal, and that's totally fine. I like volume. So you need to have on there under contract closed, break it up by quarter. Again, hopefully a spreadsheet knows how to math for you. Questions on the deal tracker? No, okay. Good news, this is the last little bonus before you get to leave for 10 minutes. So email me if you want a copy of that tracker. Again, please provide feedback. What was helpful for you, what was not helpful for you. That's really good feedback. Books, Atomic Habits is a good one. I quoted James Clear at the beginning. Really wonderful book for you to read if you're interested in how to improve this. The next is hire a coach. Again, this is a skill that requires improvement over time. Sometimes you might not be really good at identifying like what happened this week, or you're putting your numbers in and you're doing that, but then you don't know how to take it further. How do I translate this into change and growth in my business? That's what a business coach is for. I've had a business coach every year since I was 19 years old. I will never be without one. All right, before we jump into the next 3 systems, the next 3 are quicker. I wanted to check in on, has anybody had an aha moment, or like what has been a big takeaway for somebody? Are you volunteering already?
Yes.
Jeff?
Oh, the things I do a lot of, but don't get a lot of the results of. Either get better at skill or figure out something different.
Yeah, it was shit or get off the pot. So I do a lot of this activity, but am I really getting results? And if I'm not, should I do a different activity, or should I get better at that activity? Invest in getting better at that activity, yeah.
I have an accountability tracker, but I love the one that you have because it has the goal and then the actual production of each item.
Yeah.
And those are not connected in my brain, and I'm like, well, God, those should actually
Yeah.
totally be connected.
Yeah, good, yeah. I'm a super visual person, so all of my stuff has to be, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah?
How am I gonna know, like open house tracking, and I gotta figure out how many I've done, how many hours I've spent on them,
Yeah,
you know, and just know if they're worth it or not. But sometimes those leads take so long to work.
To convert,
that I'm like,
for sure.
How do I?
yeah.
do that?
Yeah,
Do I
so,
stuff, or do I say open houses are dumb and I should just quit it? Or
Yeah.
Do I suck at them?
So
How
the-
do I know?
so-
Are they dumb or do I suck?
yeah. The question is, do I suck at this, or is this a bad activity? So it was around open houses, which is, at what point, basically, do you decide, do I continue doing this or not? If you were starting out with a lead gen activity, just starting out with tracking it, I would give it a minimum of like 3 to 4 months of doing it to see. And with open houses, you might categorize it differently. Maybe I don't have a closed client within the first 3 months, but maybe I have 3 people that I'm actively working with who are pre-approved, who are serious, and that then feels worth it to me. I think what's tricky is with open houses is sometimes you have to track down those leads over a long period of time, and they may or may not convert. So you need a little bit more time, usually, in kind of tracking to see if that makes sense. But the other thing I would tell you is maybe consider what is the strategy that you're using for open houses. So right now we have a lot of people well, let me ask, what's the largest percentage of buyers that we have right now in the market? Window shoppers, preach. What price points? 500. Go do open houses at 500,000 and you're probably going to find more active clients. Or more window shoppers, I don't know. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other big takeaways? Wes? It's a real thing. It's a real thing. She will thank me later for that. So, yeah. All right, let's jump in. System 4 is database management. So now you've set this plan. You've got your calendar all set up. You're using the tracking. And now we need to make sure that your database is ready to rock and roll so that you can appropriately follow up with people to actually have a chance at converting all of these leads that you're bringing in. So I kind of look at our database, our CRM, having like two components. So the first one is pipeline. These are people I'm like actively working with, or people that I think I'm for sure going to be working with within the next like 1 to 2 months kind of thing. But these are the people I feel really solid about, that these are clients that will likely close this year or transact in the next year. And then you've got your database, which is people that you want to earn the business of. So when we think about pipeline, of course there's a tracker for that. My pipeline tracker is on the same sheet as my deal tracker, because I like to be able to see, here's what I'm currently got under contract. This is what my year-to-date anticipated is. Here's my goal for the year. Here's my pipeline. Do all of those dollars exceed what I still need to close this year? And if not, I got to go generate some leads. And when I say exceed what I want to do for this year, I think that that's really important, because not everybody in your pipeline is going to close. So you always want your pipeline to be more full than whatever it is that you're actually trying to convert and close. Because life happens, right? We've all probably learned that the hard way at one point. You really thought this person was going to transact, and then something got in the way right before. So key components of the pipeline tracker: the names of the people, the timing, like what month or quarter do you think they're going to close, the price point, and then the stage. Have you already met with this person? Do you have a search set up for them and you're just waiting to find the right house? What stage are they in? So this is what it would look like on a spreadsheet, which is what I'm a fan of. Does anybody here use Follow Up Boss as their CRM? Good job. Follow Up Boss. So most CRMs will have a deal tracker. I shouldn't say most. Some CRMs will also have a deal tracker. Follow Up Boss has one. I don't use this, so I did this in my Follow Up Boss just for you to have an example. But it'll have your current pipeline, your active clients, your pending clients, and your closed clients for the year as such, and it will track. Sorry, the spreadsheet looks like shit up here on some of these, so I don't know what's happening. Questions on the pipeline tracker? Yeah. Yeah, how do I feel about KV Core? I use Follow Up Boss. How do I feel about ReChat? I use Follow Up Boss. What was that? Because we haven't found Follow Up Boss. All right. So some of the big points: Database 101, important stuff for you when you're thinking about your database, is the best CRM is the one that you'll use. That's what everybody says. Actually, it's Follow Up Boss. Just get Follow Up Boss. It's so much better than all the other stuff that's out there. I used to use Contactually, which was actually my freaking favorite, and then Compass bought it, and so now we don't have access to it. So Follow Up Boss is the second best that I have found, and it's lovely. I really enjoy it, and we are 89% referral based in my business. Most of the work I do is through this CRM, if that means anything to you, and if it doesn't, that's fine. So all of your contacts should be in there with complete information. Remember earlier when we talked about project lists that might come up from some of our goals? I bet that this is on everybody's project list, is identifying the people that you need to have complete information for, like your A+ and your B people. And complete means you have their full name, not just Joe Open House, right? Like ideally you have their full name. You've got their address of where they live. You've got their email address, and you have their phone number. And then in a perfect world, you would also tag them as something. Buyer, seller, contractor, investor, out-of-state agent partner, title rep, whatever it is. Is what I just said Spanish to anybody? Like, have you not worked, has anybody here not yet worked in a CRM? Because I can break this down a little bit further if needed. What was that?
I wouldn't mind hearing it, just
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah. So in your CRM, a lot of us, when we're starting out, are importing contacts and CSV files from somewhere. If you're starting from scratch, great. You're going to go in and manually put in your contacts in that case. If you're uploading a spreadsheet, you'll do a bulk import. And then all these people end up in your database. And what you want to do is basically go through all of your contacts one by one in a perfect world and fill out any information that's missing. And yes, sometimes that requires you contacting that person. Scary, I know, but you have to get the information somehow. Sometimes it's going into Realist tax records and sleuthing and finding their address. Whatever it is, try to get all of their information in there and complete. And what I'd recommend is that when you're on that individual contact's profile, that's also the time that you go ahead and tag them. Because otherwise you got to go back and do that at another time, which is kind of annoying. And so tags, you can use all sorts of different tags. Does anybody have a tag that they use really frequently outside of the ones I mentioned? Neighbor. Yep.
Or groups that you're in.
Groups that you're in. I met this person through my hacky sack club.
If I use tags, I will tag them by what events they have come to.
Okay. So Jeff said in the future he plans to tag people by what events they have come to. We use that a lot. I do home buying classes to the public, and so we'll put in a tag of home buying 101 class with this date. And then another one for just home buying 101 class, so that if I want to grab everybody that's ever been to one, I can. So those are just some examples. Think about what makes the most sense for your business. In a perfect world, you would then have a drip campaign or an action plan in place for everybody in your database. This is hard for us people that have 4,000, 5,000 contacts in there to have a drip plan for everybody. But I will tell you, we have about 5,000 contacts in my Follow-Up Boss and system, and they hear from us every month. At a minimum, every single person in my CRM gets my monthly newsletter.
Did you do it yourself? Create your own monthly newsletter?
I used to create it myself. Then I got smart and hired an assistant who's Kylie in the back, and now she makes the newsletter. But yes, it's still in-house. And we send it through MailChimp. Does everybody know what a drip campaign is? Better question. Does anybody not know what a drip campaign is? Cool. Thanks for being honest. So a drip campaign is basically, I've got this person, I want to stay in touch with them, but if I've got 500 people in my database, how am I regularly going to stay in touch with these people at a cadence that makes sense to get business? So you're going to automate some of it. So you'll create what's called a drip campaign, which is basically just automated emails or texts, whatever, that go out to people. A good way to make drip campaigns is with the help of AI. Just go to ChatGPT, write me a drip campaign at this cadence for this type of contact in this market, blah, 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 blah. And then don't forget the most important thing with AI, copy and paste it, but then change some of it and make it relevant, make it you. Does that make sense? Yeah. Was there a question?
Do you use the Follow-Up Boss action plans?
No. So the question was, do I use the Follow-Up Boss action plans? No, we made our own. Yeah. What was that?
Or just formal or not your voice or?
Yeah, so it's funny because one of my buddies texted me and he's like, hey, I can't tell if this is automated or if this is you. I just wanted to text you really quick. But he's an extremely intelligent anesthesiologist who would pick up on that in a heartbeat. And the fact he couldn't tell told me that we're like right where we need to be. So in a perfect world, your drip campaigns will not sound or feel automated because nobody likes to be mass marketed to. They'll hit unsubscribe. So yeah, so I try to make it more me. We include images sometimes on things and blah, blah, blah. And they work. They really do work. One of them, I had a buddy of mine that we had on a long-term seller drip, and literally just last week she responded, yep, let's go ahead and meet, we're ready to list. Great, lovely. You had a question, Wes?
Yeah, is your newsletter coming from Follow-Up Boss?
It goes through MailChimp. And then what's the software, Kylie, that makes those two talk? Make?
Yeah, but I think they
now has the integration? Okay. So when we first started, they did not talk to each other, so we had to get a freaking software just to make them talk to each other. God. So Make is one that we use for our integrations. Yeah. Individual tasks for pipeline clients. So I'm going to show you my follow-up boss so you can see what the heck I mean. So you've got this, and most CRMs are going to have this. So sorry if you don't use it, but most CRMs will have this function. It's just going to look different. So you've got this tasks tab. So what you can see is that there's 184 people that I manually follow up with on a regular cadence. And these are people that are in my pipeline, they're prospects. Some of them are past clients that I think they're going to need to transact in the next year or two, or they're recently closed, and I just want to check in on them the first 6 months, like how's it going over there? Do you need anything kind of stuff? So what's fun is because I've got this set up, now I log on, I've got my follow-up boss time in my calendar every single Monday for 1 hour. Remember, it's pink. And I say, okay, I'm going to go into follow-up boss. What do I need to do in follow-up boss? I don't have any overdue. This coming Monday, there are 18 tasks that I need to do. And it tells me exactly who I need to contact and what is it that I'm following up on. How nice would it be for you guys to be able to log onto your CRM during your follow-up time and know this is who I need to follow up with? It's a heavy lift at the beginning. I put this off for the first 2.5 years of my business. It was like pulling teeth to get me to be organized. But my production reached a point that it just was not an option. So with the help of my assistant coddling me, we got this done. And now we have this badass system. So a couple things I want to show you of tips and tricks so that if you start using this, you can stay consistent. So when I open up a client, and it's going to be the same again on the CRMs, it's just going to look a little different. I've got all of Nathan's info, but I've got a task, which is a 6-month check-in and then to include his partner. So I can email directly through here. How's it going? Whatever. Or if I feel a text is more appropriate, I'll just send the text. The thing that people mess up when they go to do this is they do all this work initially putting in tasks for people and when they want it to show up, and then they forget one freaking step. When I check this task off, do not leave this page until you create your next one. Because otherwise you completed that task and now that person's just gone. But usually we don't need just one follow-up with people. And it could be that you're not going to follow up with them for 8 months from now. That's fine. You set a date on the task. It's going to be 8 months later. But do not close out of a contact when you've completed a task until you set your next one. That's how you keep everything in front of you all the time and you don't miss stuff. Did that make sense? I know it's a detail, but it's a really important one. These are my manual people. Everyone else is drip campaigns and action plans. And the manual ones are the ones that I know need a personal touch or that I can't automate for some reason, or their situation is unique, or they're a close friend and I need to not put them on a drip because it's not appropriate, whatever it is.
What else do you automate that's not your newsletter?
A lot, yeah. So the question from Jeff was other things, yeah.
Your other, you said 5,000 in there, but there's the 180. And you said you had just have drips and action plans for the others. What do those look like inside your newsletter?
Yeah. So Jeff's question was, what else is automated in my follow-up boss? I've got, everybody gets a newsletter, and I've got my manual tasks. So our drip campaigns that we have for buyers, we have for sellers, we have for investors, and it's a different drip campaign for each person. We have for our contractors. That one has been really fun to come up with. I check in with them. The drip is like, hey, do you have any rock stars you work with right now that you could send me? Another one is, do you need anybody? Do you need a really great contact? Another one is, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. How's it going in your industry? Wondered if you wanted to grab a cup of coffee. So there's drip campaigns for contractors. What was that? Yeah. The other drip that I use is out-of-state agents. So if you've come to my Make It Rain referrals class, you would know that about my business, that I do a lot of business with out-of-state agents. And so I have them on a drip to stay in touch with them. Hey, here's what's going on in Denver. What's going on in your market right now? And some of the quote unquote drips, just so you know, I still like to include market, like timely information. So like my buyer drip as an example, what I do is I go in once a month and I write a DMAR caption. So I read the DMAR stats that come out every month, cover to cover, and then I write something about it to break it down to make it more digestible. And what we'll do is we'll go into our buyer drip and paste that in there, and the rest of the email is already written, and then hit send and it goes out. So there's a bit of manual work on some of our drips if I want to present timely market information. And the way that we remember to do that is a calendar block in our schedule at the beginning of each month, go in and put in the DMAR into the follow-up boss. Okay.
Chelsea, do you use the phone number from Follow Boss?
Opted to not. No, yeah.
What's that?
Do you like using the data?
Trying to decide. It's a great way to receive. I put it on all my signs and marketing online. Yeah, so it runs a lot of the spam calls through it, which is nice. And it'll record when somebody calls you the conversation. So that's really nice. But it's annoying having to
It was too late for me, so I just got a personal cell phone, and only like 5 people have that phone number. That's what I did. Yeah, so my original number is just what's on everything.
You use the texting feature from MailChimp?
No. I don't do any mass texting at all. The only mass text that we do is through Punchbowl. So I throw client events pretty regularly, and we'll send invites via text. That's about it. Otherwise, any texting is the manual people that are on my tasks on Follow Up Boss. I'm sure there's plenty of people that do it and it works. I just don't. Okay, bonus resources on the database side. I find that when I'm coaching agents, this is such a heavy lift for a lot of people to like get their database set up and to get the drips and all of this stuff. So number one, there's this saying that's awful, which is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I'm like, who did that? No, just kidding. Nobody did that. So what I'd recommend is break it down into chunks and put those into your calendar. So chunk number 1, find a CRM you like. Chunk number 2, get your past clients in there and go through and make sure all of their information is complete. That's way more important than that random ass stack of business cards that you have sitting over there. Right? So start with the things that make the most sense of who you want to start hitting first, and then start layering in the other things. So we got our 52 touch up and running with all of our past clients, et cetera, before I started doing drip campaigns for out-of-state agents. And if you don't have the time, effort, energy, or know-how to do any of that, pay somebody. Just pay somebody. There's plenty of agents that are office that are looking for extra cash. It's not that much money. You'll pay $200 to $500 to have somebody put your freaking clients in there. And how much money are you going to make by being able to actually start to stay in communication with those people? It's a no-brainer. So if it's this thing, this wrestling that you have in yourself, I know I need to do this, and then you keep avoiding it, keep missing that calendar block, get off your high horse and pay somebody, because you're not going to do it. That's what you've just learned. Use ChatGPT to write campaigns for you. We already talked about that. And then I've got a Make It Rain referrals class. The last one I'm doing is actually going to be at Chicago Title in August. So if you want to learn how I've run my business and made it to be 89% referral based, that's the class you'd want to come to. Okay, System 5 is accountability. This fun little quote by Winston Churchill, which is, the price of greatness is responsibility. Feels so stiff, but it's like really true. In order to be great, you have to take responsibility for yourself, which is the accountability part. The activity tracker is just the way that you start tracking your activities to see if you're actually even doing what you need to be doing or not. But the accountability piece cannot be missed if you're serious about having growth. Why do we need accountability? This might seem intuitive, but we'll just run through it. To increase our performance, of course, right? Like that's the main reason that you would have somebody help you with this. To enhance your decision making, this is what I mostly use my accountability for at this point in my career. This gentleman, Colin, is the unfortunate recipient of my phone calls when I don't know what to do or I need help navigating a situation. It's really helpful to get extra perspective and to get feedback so that you can do that thing better. In order to grow, we do need feedback, and sometimes we need negative feedback. I know we're scared of it, it feels like, as a society. There's no reason to be afraid of something that's going to help you get better. And what I would ask you if you're afraid of getting feedback is, you're going to get it regardless, but it's who's it going to come from? Would you rather your feedback come from a team lead, from a coach, from a mentor, or would you rather it come from a client? Yeek. I'll take this all day. Be hard on me, make me better, make me great, because I don't ever want a client to feel like they have to come to me and say you're not doing your job. Yikes. You're going to get the feedback one way or another. Just figure out where you want to get it from. Accountability should create more motivation for you and support. And then also, of course, increase your responsibility. So common options of where you can get accountability. We have accountability calls at our brokerage. Those can be helpful. That is a group setting. And I do just want to point one thing out about these first two options. Group settings can be great. They also can be a way for you to hide. It can be a way for you to hide. You can hide behind everything else that everybody's saying because there's not a magnifying glass on you. And I just want to point that out, that if you're like, hey, I'm doing all the stuff Chelsea taught and I'm in this accountability call and I'm not getting better, it's because you need some one-on-one attention. One-on-one. The next is team leads. Same thing, that's usually in a group setting. Some teams are set up that they do one-on-one. That's awesome. That's what I did with my team. Every Monday, 30 minutes each person. Find great mentors in the business. I feel really, really blessed. I have Colin Whitenack in my back pocket. I also have Amy Nakos is somebody that I regularly speak to. Jackie White. Some of our heavy hitters are the people that are giving me advice, which is wonderful. Find great mentors for yourself. And then professional coaching. Has anyone here ever had a business coach? This is crazy to me about our industry. This is crazy to me. Every single one of us is a business owner. And I just don't think that that gets like taught to us when we're getting our licenses. It's like, oh yeah, you're just going to be a real estate agent and go help people with the largest financial decision that they ever make in their life. And hopefully you're good at it. But oh, by the way, you are self-employed. You run a business. You are a business owner. I cannot imagine trying to run a business without having some sort of professional coach, at least for a period of time, to get you the skills and the tools that you need to help get you better. As I said, I will always have a business coach. Would not be here today without a business coach. Wouldn't have any of the success I've had in the past without somebody every other week telling me, you're fucking it up, here's what you need to do better. How do you pick one? So, every business coach is a little bit different. You should find a personality fit that's what you need. That doesn't mean it's what you like. It's what you need. I tend to prefer a ball buster. What I need is somebody that's nicer. If you like nice coaching, maybe you need somebody that's a little bit more drive oriented. So find the personality fit that's a good fit for what you need. What's tricky for me with finding a good coach is it depends on what I need in my life at that time. So sometimes I've had business coaches that are a little bit more like business and life coaches. I've had other business coaches that it's strictly business coaches. The last business coach I had was strictly real estate teams. I no longer have a team, so now I'm looking for a new coach. So how do you find one? You go online typically. There's tons of groups that you can be in for business owners, also for real estate agents. Post that you're looking for one. You'll get 1,000 messages, or you can search that group and see who are other people that have been recommended. Just like you would go find a real estate agent in another state, you should take that name, go look them up. Are they credible? Do they have good reviews, etc., and then set a free consultation. Price range, yeah, so usually between $400 and $1,500 a month. That's what I've seen. You can pay a lot more. Probably don't need it. Okay, bonus resources on accountability. We've got accountability calls at the brokerage. We have really great teams at Your Castle. There's also tons of people at Your Castle that would love to help you, that would mentor you. You just have to go ask. If you are looking for one-on-one coaching, feel free to reach out to me. I myself am a coach. If I don't make sense for you, no problem. I'll also tell you that if I don't think we're a fit. And I have other people that I would recommend to you that are great coaches, depending on where you are in your business. Because I've only got room for like 2 more people right now. So I have other people that are better if you've been doing this for a long time versus if you're brand new. It's just like a different skill set and personality that you'll want. Extreme Ownership is a book I'd recommend. I know at least one person in this room has read it. Has anybody else read this? Allie, you read it recently, so can I put you on the spot? What's like a big takeaway or 2 from this book that these guys might say, okay, maybe I want to read that?
I think the accountability piece and being able to self-reflect on what your factor, your part in it is, that was really huge for me. It's just the way that you're looking at the problem and how you can help to fix it from your part.
Yeah. So when I was 19, my first business coach said to me, running a business is like looking in the mirror. And I was like, huh, that's an interesting statement. And then as I started doing business, I realized what he meant. So I used to have to run marketing teams with my painting company. And so I'd find these people off Craigslist, I would interview them, and then we'd be out knocking on people's doors like that weekend. It was wild. It's also a little bit different of a time. In any case, I could sit there and say to myself every week, man, this person didn't show up for work. People are lazy. They don't want to work. They don't want to make money. They don't want to, like this, that, and the other, right? That's one way to look at that problem. The other way to look at that problem is I didn't quite hire the right person. I didn't onboard them appropriately. Maybe I'm not paying them enough for what this role is. Maybe I need to be less of an ass. Whatever it is, but look in the mirror instead of looking outward of where is it that I could have been better. And if you just focus on that, then you're focusing on the thing that really matters, which is you, right? You're the only thing that you can control. So this book is really helpful with helping you to shift that perspective if it's something that you struggle with, of looking out all the time instead of looking at your part with anything. All right, system 6, the last one. Routine for planning and reflection. So everything that we just talked about is gravy, but you need to find a way to make it all part of your routine, to make it a well-oiled machine so that it's something that you can continue doing and make it sustainable. There's this quote from Abe Lincoln. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. That's definitely not what he sounded like, but that's how I read that. So why I like this is because it's, hey, here's this big task, right? You got to chop down this entire tree in 6 hours. And he's like, sweet. If I'm going to be able to chop down that tree in 6 hours, I'm going to spend the first 4 preparing because then I'll be able to get it done in 2. But if I'm using a dull axe, I'm not going to get it done in 6 hours, or it's going to take so much more effort that then I can't do anything afterwards, right? So it's just the idea that maybe some preparation and planning is going to make you more efficient and help you to work smarter before you just go do stuff all the time. Because this is a very responsive industry. It's very easy to get caught up in the adrenaline and the go, go, go and the shiny pennies instead of sitting back and preparing. So I'll break this into daily, weekly, monthly, annual, okay? Daily routines. This is where I recommend that you start if you don't have great routine. So every morning, sit down before you open your email and write out, what do I need to get done today? And I've got great news. You already did all the other steps that we talked about, so all you have to do is look at your calendar and it'll tell you. I do this fun little thing for myself every morning, which is when I look at my calendar, I'm a visual person, I can't help it. I take the big things and I write them on a little piece of paper and I cross them off throughout the day. And at the end of the day, I'm going to get undressed, I put my hand in my pockets, I pull this out, and I look at it, and it's a final reminder of, did I get everything done that I needed to get done today before I take off my work clothes? And if not, I better get my calendar adjusted, or I'm gonna stay up and stay dressed a little while longer and get this taken care of before I go into relax mode. So what is your list? And have it with you or in front of you throughout the day. In the evening, how did the day go? We've talked about this already, and adjust your calendar accordingly. So before I'm willing to put my work phone down on Do Not Disturb in a dark corner away from me, I make sure that I've changed my calendar around, I've responded to text messages, I'm caught up on my email so that I can close that and move on to real life. And I would recommend that you take a look at the next couple of days too. So at the end of the day, when I close all of that, I've also looked at what does tomorrow look like, and I've laid out my outfit, and I've put together my green smoothie in the fridge so I can just blend it in the morning, and I've figured out, oh, between this and this, I'm gonna need a different outfit. I'm going to a construction walkthrough. I better not wear heels. I don't wear heels, just kidding. But I should probably wear something that's closed toe, whatever it is. Look at your schedule the next day so that you can be prepped. Because in the morning, the last thing you wanna do is start your day with adrenaline. Weekly. Here are some things I recommend you have in your calendar on a weekly basis. The first two we've already talked about. You have an hour in your calendar that you're working on your calendar. I know it's crazy, an hour in the calendar to work on the calendar, but it's necessary. An hour of tracking, how did I do this week versus my goals? In a perfect world, you would have at least an hour of coaching and accountability per week. So whether that's a combination of a team lead coaching you or an accountability call or an hour of coaching with a professional coach or talking to mentors, whatever it is, some sort of accountability every week. Your daily routines should be in your calendar. So for me, 5 a.m. miracle morning, 6 a.m. workout, 7 a.m. shower and breakfast. I'm starting work at 8. In the evening, I have my evening routine block. Those are just regularly recurring time blocks. Your eyebrows are up. Are you like, dang? I'm like, I just said something monumental. And then the rest of your big rocks in your calendar for each week. Kids, husbands, wives, multiple husbands. Okay. Monthly and quarterly. These are a little bit bigger of check-ins than weekly. And the point here is to take a pause and to pull yourself out of the day-to-day to see how you're actually doing, because now you've just completed 1/12 of the year. Or if it's quarterly, you've just completed 1/4 of that entire year. And hopefully everyone in here knows that real estate is a 90-day sales cycle. So whatever you do in Q1 determines your Q2. Whatever you do in Q2 determines your Q3. So if you had a shit Q2 and you don't have a very full pipeline, probably gonna have a shit Q3, you better get on it. So monthly, I recommend you do a financial check-in. So put all of your expenses into your spreadsheet. I've got one of those too if you need. Put your expenses into your spreadsheet so that you're getting your bookkeeping done. Where am I at? Am I okay? Am I in the green? Am I in the red? Am I gonna be in the red? And stay on top of your money. This should also be the larger goal check-in. And adjustments as needed. As we talked about, not every quarter is a great quarter to be doing open houses. If they started bombing, don't put them in for Q2. And then get your calendar lined up accordingly for the next quarter. If you at the beginning of the year did what I said and you put all your goals in for the whole year, this should just be moving things around. It should just be finessing, not a really heavy lift. Okay, and then annually, this is a heavy lift. This is like your, how did this year of my life go? And we don't know how many of those we get. We don't know how many days we get, but we really don't know how many years we get. This is your full stop. How did last year go? And what do I want to have happen next year? So my personal process is I take usually 3 days in November because I want to be setting goals in November so that I can be getting those projects out of the way in December so that in January, bam, we're off to the races. So I usually take 3 days and take myself on a little mini retreat, typically in Breckenridge, and I reflect on my life. What went well, what didn't, and that's when I do my goal setting. I brought this little book, and I like to just write out stuff, right? And like one of the ones I did last November was, what does a 10 out of 10 life look like for me? And I listed out all of the things. And then the next page is, how am I going to make this a 10 out of 10 life? Also, what already is 10 out of 10? And you do a big reflection so that you can get yourself set up for the next year. Does anybody else do that? An annual? So it's really hard to start in January without all of the goal setting and review already done. I really would recommend Right now would be an example that you could put in. You could block off a day in November right now in your calendar for goal setting for 2026. You could do it right now. A day or two, maybe the weekend before Thanksgiving. It's mud season in the mountains. Get really good deals on hotels. Maybe 2 or 3 days in November. That's goal setting 2026. So rewarding. And if you wanted to take that to a pro level, you would set that appointment recurring. Every year in November, here are 3 days. And it doesn't mean you have to do them those 3 days, because you guys are going to look at your calendar in advance and say, well, those 3 days don't really work. But it will remind you, oh yeah, there's that thing that I need to do. Okay, extra resources on the routine. Again, the goal packet, if you want it. The 12-week year we've talked about. The other thing is the Miracle Morning. Somebody can have this copy. This is a book that I buy like 5 of at a time. And anytime somebody doesn't have it and wants it, I give it to them because it has changed my life. I've been doing the Miracle Morning every single morning. I think I'm on like a 250-day streak or something, but I've been doing it for a couple of years. If you don't have a great morning routine, this is the book for that. I know that it looks thick, but it's like double spaced. It's not that hard to read. It's great. And it will give you a morning routine that will change your life. So I'd highly recommend that you pick this up. If you do, if somebody takes this book, I'll put it over there. I won't even know. Please also download the app for it. That is what has taken that book and like moved it to the next level for me. I freaking love it. It's like it cheers you on every time you check off a task. It's really rewarding. I wish they had a function that you could turn on, like it boos you if you open it and you didn't do the day before, like boo, you know. If you want to learn more about morning routine, etc., I talk about that way more at the Unfuck Yourself class, like with a lot more detail. But again, it's there if someone wants it. Okay, I told you guys like email me if you want stuff. So my email's up here if you need it. Instagram, we'll have more classes. If you want to check out my blog, any of that stuff, there it is. Okay, what questions do you guys have?
For your Google Calendar, do you invite them to also share that event, or is it just on your side?
With like who? Like a...
Listing appointment. Or
Okay, good question. So do we invite people to Google Calendar events? We do, because I trust nobody to show up. So like when I'm coaching agents and they're like, oh yeah, I sent 2 meetings with lenders last week and only 1 showed up. I'm like, that probably was preventable by sending a Google Calendar invite. So yes, I invite people to the Google Calendar invites when it's a meeting with people, yeah. It's also like part of our system that when we go send a Google Calendar invite to somebody, that also means that there's probably a couple things I want to send to them. So like if I have a buyer consultation, Kylie is the one that does all of this now, thank God, and she's great at it. But she'll send the Google Calendar invite and then also says, Chelsea is so looking forward to your appointment this day at this time. Also, here are some documents she'd love for you to review beforehand. And it's my resume and testimonials and DMAR stats and all of this stuff. So I do that on the listing and buy side.
Like admin structure, do you have an admin assistant?
Yeah. What structure do I have? It's just me and Kylie. Yeah.
You used to have a centralized, the whole.
Yeah, I used to have a team, ran top small team, top medium team, and then now it's just Kylie and I. Yeah.
Who do you think at your council would be good, someone good to reach out to find a resource for helping you build out the
CRM. Yeah. The last person I talked to was Lacey Reiner. If you guys don't know her, she's on the Facebook page. She helped a couple coaching clients of mine get stuff in. But also if you just post on the page, like who is familiar with Follow Up Boss and wants to make some extra cash.
Thanks.
Yeah.
How do you handle the buyers that you get when you have 4 to 5 plus transactions? Like, those come up, right? So you have the buffers in the water, and then it feels like in this transition, I'm always curious on how these candidates handle the buyers.
Yeah. Really important. Number 1, have a full mental breakdown every time. cry, and then it gets better. No. Depends on what the fire is. Usually it's just prioritizing, which is a skill that you learn also over time. I like to think of kind of everything we have going on as agents as juggling. We're juggling all these balls. And at some point, somebody throws in a really big ball that demands our attention and more effort. We might have to drop one of the other balls temporarily. So what I will do is if something big comes up, the first thing I do is go to my calendar and create space to deal with that. That's number one. So, okay, this is gonna be a 3-hour problem today, potentially. I need to move anything that is not absolutely urgent in my calendar. And it's tricky. We have decisions we have to make. So sometimes I've got showings scheduled with a client and I don't know, a listing floods. Oh, I shouldn't have put that out there. But something happens and you have to go. Now I got to find an agent to cover those showings. It just is what it is. So sometimes you have to leverage by paying. But yeah, it's just prioritizing. That probably wasn't the answer you were, it's not some magical thing, but.
No, I prioritize the fires over everything, and then it's the wayside the next quarter.
Okay, so maybe it's qualifying what's actually a fire that's important. Because there's not a lot of things that are fires to me. If it's a fire that's getting my attention, absolutely. If it's not a fire, if it's like a slow smoldering, I can deal with that when it makes sense. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
I'm considering being a showing assistant, and I'm curious how you navigated that. Do you do showings the first time and then they come? Like, how do you transition your buyers to use them?
Yeah. I'm probably not a perfect example. So the question was, how did I transition to using a showing assistant? So I have a couple of different agents that show houses for me now, but really when I had the team, that was when I had them doing everything. And it took a year of getting their competency up, and then I was out of the country all of last year, so I would do the initial consultation. I would set the expectation then. I'm not going to be at any of your showings. I will be doing all of the negotiation, which is where you want me. I'm not a whole lot of fun to look at houses with. And they'd say, okay. And then that was it. Now, I almost always will do what I call the discovery day first. So that's where we go out, we look at like 4 or 5 houses just to learn about them. They learn about me. I teach them a shit ton about homes and what to look for. And then the like 5-ish houses that they look at after that, it's okay if I send an agent popping in. Yeah. But I do like to do the discovery day just for the education.
What type of systems do you have with your assistant to communicate? That's right.
Yeah.
I thought maybe a little more random than
Yeah. Yeah, good question. The question is, what systems do I have in place with Kylie? Kylie is a full-time assistant. So we learned by doing. We've been working together for over 3 years now. What we found works best for us is on Mondays, we have a meeting for 1 hour. On Thursdays, we have a meeting for 1 hour. And then there is a time block on my calendar called catch-up time that is only for her to edit. And it's 1 hour. She can put whatever she needs in there for me to get done during that hour. And thus, we have 2 points of contact throughout the week. There's some weeks that's the only time I talk to you. Just kind of depends on what we have going on. Sometimes I feel like calling and chit-chatting, so I will. But that's the majority.
I really like how you use the red, green, and yellow as well. Just prioritizing task cards is a challenge for me, so that was really helpful.
Yeah, I guess we have more. I just don't think about it. So, yeah, well, so a couple things. So first of all, Kylie has full access to my calendar, to my email. She TCs all of our deals. She does have all of my bank account information. This could go bad quickly. She has the lockbox codes to all of our rentals. She literally has everything, and she has my location for tracking, because that helps her know where I am if I'm going to be running late or whatever. The system she's talking about is I send a lot of stuff to Kylie as to what I need done, so I came up with a color coding system that red means I want you to stop what you're doing and do this right now. Orange is, this is high priority, you can probably finish what you're doing, but I need this done in the next couple hours, right? Yellow or green is just do it whenever it makes sense for you.
Where is that communicated from?
Yeah, usually by email. We do most of our stuff by email. Like, we don't really text that much. I get irritated by text. So I'll text her if I'm driving or out and about and need something, but it's usually like a one-way communication. Hey, can you knock this out? She'll like the text, that's it. How did I find her? That's a fun love story. I had a knee surgery. She was my physical therapist's assistant. And after a couple weeks, I said, hey, do you want to get out of here? She said yes.
So you had to really train from the bottom up.
Yeah, she needed a little training. Especially she was used to writing in code, like at hospitals, right? So a lot of what Kylie does now is public facing. So it was just like, hey, we have to use full sentences now. Like, I don't know. But yeah, luckily she's super hardworking, very, very trustworthy. So yeah. Other questions? All right, it's been a good time. Hope to see you to the July one. Take care.
Thanks.